Welcome to Making It with Terry Wollman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Wollman.
My guest today is Vicki Abelson. I appreciate you joining us each week, and I'd like to share my intention that inspires this podcast. Time passes quickly, and I've learned that we should do what's in our hearts and do it well without apologies or excuses. I encourage you to create your life and art in your own unique way and express your artistry with joy and with abandon. Be willing to work uncompromisingly for what you believe in. Success will have a better chance of finding you when you live your life with integrity, focus, and passion. Be selfish with your discipline and selfless in your performance. And don't forget to have fun along the way. If you're joining us in our live audience today, we'll be inviting questions and comments during the second half of our show, so make it count. Simply request an invite to speak, and either my moderator, Dr. Lisa, if she was able to get off of her cross-country plane flight, or I will bring you on stage to join the conversation. And by the way, we're doing something really cool today. We are simulcasting on Facebook Live. We're totally going rogue on you and inviting Vicki's live audience and her followers as well on both formats. So let me tell you about our guest today. And this is going to be a really fun show because I'm interviewing another interviewer. and I've been a guest on Vicki's show as well. So we're flipping the script today. So here's what I want you to know about our guest. Best-selling author, performer, producer, promoter, and talk show host, Vicki Abelson has appeared on Saturday Night Live 3 times, co-starred in a pilot for Comedy Central, optioned a music reality show to TelePictures, and was featured in Henry Jaglom's The M Word. For the past 12 and a half years before COVID, Vicki has been presenting the creme de la creme of the music, screen, and literary worlds at her celebrity-driven salon, Vicki Abelson's Women Who Write. Guests have included Norman Lear, Ed Asner, Garry Marshall, Cloris Leachman, Jackie Collins, Valerie Harper, Paul Williams, Mike Nesmith, and Micky Dolenz, and me, to name but a few. Her fictionalized memoir, Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother, published by Carl Reiner's Random Content, is a 5-star Amazon #1 bestseller. Was named one of the 7 best books by or about women, and #1 best summer read 2016 by Amazon. Her weekly celebrity interview talk show, Game Changers with Vicki Abelson, can be seen Wednesdays live 5 p.m. on the Facebook. Her pandemic birth, Shooting the Shit with Vicki, is also live at 5 p.m. on Mondays, also on the Facebook. Vicki Abelson, hi, and welcome to Making It.
Hi, Terry Wollman. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
That's great. It's really great. And I'm going to do one thing because Dr. Lisa's not on the show with us yet, which is I'm going to make sure that we share this with all of our Fireside followers right now, too. Great. So we can let them know we're on the air. Yes.
I don't like, the lighting is real. I'm like looking at my Facebook Live. I'm looking at I'm going to do the interview like this.
Do you want to go get a scarf, or are you going to feel more comfortable? Should we do a little wardrobe change?
I'm doing my Halloween show.
Man, you look gorgeous as always.
Thank you.
Did you ever model professionally, by the way?
Oh, God, Terry. This is a good way to butter up your guests before the show.
It's just an honest question.
Oh, hell no. No, I was like a hippie girl with ripped jeans and T-shirts and stuff. No.
So we have so much to talk about, and I know that there's things that you're just going to want to bring up as well, in addition to my questions and comments. But I want to start by wishing you a happy birthday, belated. You had a birthday this week. I had one about a week ago.
Yes.
And since you're pretty much an open book in life and on all of your shows, I just saw that you had posted how old you are, and we're very close to the same age. So I'll leave it to you whether you want even more people to know. But you were just rocking it, Vicki.
Thank you. I have absolutely no shame about that. I'm 66. The number is the only thing that makes it real is that I'm on Medicare.
Right.
because
Me
of all
too.
the right? And I've had so much health shit since COVID began that I don't know if cursing's okay on here, and I'll modify myself if not. But I've had so much health stuff since COVID started, since the pandemic. I haven't had COVID, thank God,
Yeah.
but
You've
I've
been
had so
really
many
careful.
other things. But I'm so grateful that I'm on Medicare because I haven't had to pay one. Like everything's paid for.
And was Medicare confusing for you? Because this is one of the most complicated, you know, things that I've ever registered for. I'm still finishing because I just turned 65 last week.
Mm,
So
happy birthday to you too. Are you a Scorpio also?
Libra, October 20th. And
Okay, so
thanks everybody
Libras.
for the birthday applause for both of us. We appreciate you and we hear you and see you. So yeah, so Medicare, it's not that uncomplicated. It's
It's less complicated than Fireside, but
true,
but
true that.
but I have a great broker, and if you need help, he walked me through the whole thing.
Thank you.
So
I do have somebody also, and he's been a godsend, in
okay,
helping me
terrific.
just figure out, what the G plan is and the this and the
Yeah,
that, all the stuff that.
I'm gonna just
Seriously, would you be more? I
no,
want you
I'm
to be
not.
comfortable. You look gorgeous,
I'm
but do you want to get a
I'm
scarf and just put it
I'm
around
just,
your neck?
yeah, no, I'm like the lighting. I set this up not for Fireside, and I'm like,
Okay, okay.
but anyway, it's fine.
For our
Let me see if
firesiders,
I can
if anybody wants to
terrific.
give an applause or thumbs up for how wonderful Vicki looks, feel free. I hear
So
nothing. Oh, that's not a good sign. Okay.
there you go. So I can't see your Fireside people. You can though, right?
Well, you can too, but I think if you made the photos bigger, it takes up the whole screen. So I'm keeping them
Ah,
smaller. The photos
I
meaning our
see.
video.
Oh,
So
there
that,
you go.
yeah, so we can see who's in the audience too, as well.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Gotcha.
And, new technology for us, for many of our listeners, and we welcome you to the show. One of the things that I really appreciate about you, I mentioned that you're an open book, and I've been a guest on your show a couple of times over the years, but also, I follow your show because I find it really interesting, fascinating, entertaining. One is
Thank
because
you.
of the guests that you have, because you do have access to the creme de la creme of every aspect of our industry, from the literary world and writers to film and TV people and comedians and musicians, but again, I love that it's real. It's just the real deal. You don't pull punches. You start with yourself. You are really, seriously, of many of the people that I know in my life, you are an open book on camera and off camera, and I really appreciate that about you. I think it's just cool. I was
Thank
going to
you.
say it's bold and courageous, but it maybe it is, but it's also just you, and it's really refreshing. That's
Thank
what
you,
it is.
Terry. It was
Yeah.
actually a working title of my book. Open. It was originally called Open Book because it worked on a few levels. It was like, okay, it was a command, Open Book, and then it was also Open Book, which is what I am. So that was a working title, and
Nice.
I think it's true of me. I really have no secrets.
Were you that way when you were a kid, or in your
No, I had lots of secrets.
were you like shy and overweight? I read something about.
Thank you for the overweight. No, I wasn't
No, I
particular.
read something in your words about a reference to overweight, and I didn't know what that was about.
Well, I call it the skinny on my fat, and because I always felt fat, because I wasn't one of the skinny girls. I always had some meat on my bones. I was absolutely not fat, except in my own mind.
Right.
I've been trying to lose the same 10 pounds for 40 years, so
Hmm.
that's just for a couple days I get it, and then it's gone. But I was shy. As a child, I was shy, which is very shocking to people who know me now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say shocking, but it is surprising to me because I've known you as an adult,
Right.
and but there's let me start. I just want to get this into the conversation, and then I want to
Okay.
talk about New York and like how you came up. Yeah, some things that a lot of people don't know about you, like being heavily in the club scene and promoting, and you know, and before we talk about that, do you know the description do you remember the description that you wrote about yourself on your Facebook page? How you describe yourself, or shall I read it?
Go ahead.
I'll just read it.
Okay.
because everybody just says, oh, talk show host, artist like mine, this, that. Yours is the self-proclaimed whore of all media with a heart of Cheetos.
Yeah. When I first got on Facebook, I sort of became synonymous with Cheetos, and I have a picture of myself with my head in a bag of Cheetos, and it became like this thing. And if you would have done a word check on my Facebook in the first 5 years, there were probably uh, six figures. Cheetos was referenced. People would always put, and it just became a thing. And the whore of all media, when I got on social media, I just took to it, and
Yeah.
my whole life became Facebook. Really, it's how I started all the things that I've done since. So yeah,
Including your writing workshops and your mentoring and coaching and everything that you do.
yes, I did a writer's workshop yesterday. We did it on Zoom because we're virtual now, but
Yeah.
yes, I have a Women Who Write group on Facebook. We do daily challenges, writing challenges, and yeah.
So there's so many things here, but let's talk about, just because I'm curious about it. Saturday Night Live, you were on 3 times. That's pretty cool. How did that come about? The first one, who knew who? How did they
This
find out about you?
sounds so impressive. I love it as a credit, and then I love to tell the actual story.
Right.
Because for all those out there who are in awe, let me set the record straight. So I was an actress, but I was actually a waitress at Maxwell's Plum in New York, which was a celebrity, trendy, hot place. And I was very high most of the time. And one of the guys that I worked with was a location scout for Saturday Night Live. And he knew I was an actress. And the only acting I had done since I had left college, I was in a repertory company. We'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
I had done a bunch of acting young. And then when I graduated from college and came to New York, I got a job waitressing tables. And so anyway, this location scout said, would you like to do some extra work on Saturday Night Live? And I was like, yeah. This was 1983. Saturday Night Live was, as is probably, well, then it was really the hottest thing you could possibly do on television.
Right.
And so the scene that I was hired to do, all the things I did on Saturday Night Live were on those film segments that they put into the show. So the first one that I did was with Billy Crystal, and it was the first time that he did the character Buddy Young Jr., which he then did in Mr. Saturday Night.
There's a great photo of the two of you on your Facebook page, or no, on your website, so everybody can go check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so as soon as they, I was an extra, and so they said, bring your own wardrobe, bring your own wardrobe and do your own thing. And I was supposed to be playing this tacky New Jersey housewife. And I went and got this velvet dress with rhinestones. And I had very short hair then, which was very rock and roll, but I teased it old fashioned, had old, like Jersey makeup on. And as soon as I got on the set, I did what probably 90% of the people who meet Billy Crystal do. And I said, you look marvelous. And, he had just started that character too. So it was brand new, but still. And he moved me to the front row during the shoot. And here I was an extra, but he said, let's use that chick in the velvet. And he pulled me up and he did this whole bit with me. And I spent about 15, 20 hours with Billy Crystal that day, sitting in the front row chatting while they were shooting this sketch. Thank you for whoever gave us applause. And so he ended up doing this little bit with me where he twirled me around and he did this whole thing. And I was going to get my SAG card. I was, I don't know, I was in my early 20s. And it was so thrilling. And I invited every person I knew in the world to watch Saturday Night Live because the show went live that Saturday. I shot this on like a Thursday or something. And we were playing poker, and everyone, my mother, my brother, everybody in the world was watching Saturday Night Live. And I have this like 30-second bit where it's just me and Billy, and he's making fun of me. And the sketch starts, and you can see me in the front, and we all go, yay! And then the sketch ends, and my bit is not in there. And all of a sudden, my phone, I've got like 10 people playing poker in my house. They're all like, what the I'm like crying. My
Yeah.
mother calls. I thought you were going to be on Saturday Night Live. I stayed up all night, and it was the most mortifying
Yeah.
experience of my life to date. And it turns out
To
because of what,
date.
well, it was very embarrassing.
Of course.
It
Of
doesn't
course.
get much worse than that when you tell everybody you're doing something.
It's disappointing.
It was
Absolutely.
disappointing. So I forgot to turn off my notifications on my phone. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So then they called me back, and I did another one with Madonna and Sean Penn when it was Madonna's wedding. And Sean Penn, they got married and they did it. And I was Sean Penn's aunt. And again, they upgraded me. They gave me stuff to do. Thank you. And again, I ended up on the cutting room floor. You can see me for like a second. And then I did another one with Jan Hooks, I think it was. Anyway, each time they would upgrade me because I'd come all prepared. And
Sure.
And I got cut all 3 times. So you see me for like a second.
That's great. Thanks for sharing those stories. And by the way, I see we've got a couple people in the audience, and Bobby and anybody else in our virtual audience will bring you up in a few more minutes to ask questions or comments. So stick around, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. So let's back it up. So where did you grow up? Did you have siblings? Are they artistic and eclectic like you? And the move to New York, because I'm really curious. I mean, you were like a rock chick, but you were also like really involved in promoting shows, and you were like really in the thick of it at a really interesting time. And I've never really had a chance to ask you because you're always asking me the questions when we're
Right.
together. But can you give me like a brief arc of your story from being a little girl, studying acting and writing and the various things that you do? What did you study in college, and then how did you go from there to here and to this conversation?
That's all. I was going to hold it up, but the whole story is here in my book.
There it is.
Don't Chug, Sex,
Good.
Drugs, Rock and Roll, My Fucking Mother. Right. But the quick version, Terry, is I was a little girl in the Bronx, and I was very, very shy. My father was a master of ceremonies in the Catskill Mountains. So if you've seen Dirty Dancing or Walk on the more Dirty Dancing, my father was the Jerry Orbach kind of character, kind of, but more charming. My father was a nightclub singer, and he was excellent. He was gorgeous and very much in that Steve Lawrence, Mel Torme, Robert Goulet kind of vein. And so I grew up around show business. My father, I spent every summer in the Catskills, and I would watch my father on stage every night. And when I was 4, he brought me up and we did a little duet together. Hey, you're adorable. And I had stars in my eyes, and I saw this.
That's why you knew all the words to it when you sang it with.
Yes.
You did the duet. Yeah, on one of your shows. It was great. It was really great.
Did I do it on the show? Really?
On one of yours, yeah. I saw a video clip. Yeah, it's wonderful.
God, that's mortifying. Well, and then there was this Charlie Lowe review, which was kids would come around to the hotels and they would perform. And I found out 50 years later that I saw Donnie Most in the Charlie Lowe review. But anyway, I wanted to be one of those kids. And that didn't work out. I don't remember but anyway, I started doing live theater, and it was my passion. And so I did live theater. I was very shy, but you put me on stage and I was no longer shy. And I was singing, I was dancing, I was doing the whole thing. And I went to college at the University of Arizona. I was a drama major and did theater there, and then was in a repertory company called Ohaspy Theater. And sorry about that. And I wonder if I turn my volume off on I'm afraid if I close this screen to turn off notifications, I will lose you. So I don't want to do that.
Okay. Is your volume okay or no?
If I turn my sound off, maybe my notifications won't make noise. But will I lose you?
I don't know. We'll find out in a moment. I'm talking with you.
No, I still got you. Okay,
great.
I'm
okay,
on silent
perfect.
mode, still got you. So anyway, so in college, I joined this repertory company, and then I married someone, I fell in love, and he wanted to come to New York. Not yet. This is first husband. There's been a couple of husbands, as I say. So I came to New York to be an actress, and basically ended up being a waitress. And I did that and got divorced. And then I was invited to, when I did the Saturday Night Lives, I was invited to join the Laughter Company, which I don't know if you know Bob Nelson. He's a comedian that was on the Rodney Dangerfield Young Comedian special when Sam Kinison broke and when Roseanne broke. He was one of those. He opened for Rodney on Broadway for years and stuff. And so Bob invited me to join the Laughter Company, which was Eddie Murphy was, that was where Eddie Murphy started. Billy Crystal's partner from Dave Hawthorne was in it. Bob was in it. And I replaced Rosie O'Donnell because we look exactly alike.
Of course you do. I always get you two confused. By the way, so it was an acting improv group.
It was just an improvisation group, comedy improv. I had never done comedy improv. I had no training. They said, don't worry. I was in their little movie called Writer PI. I had a little tiny little piece in that. And I was in this improv group, and they were all stand-up comics, and they were not improvising at all. They'd been doing this group for 5 years. They knew how to get into every bit, how to get out of every bit, where the jokes were. I knew nothing. And they fed me to the wolves on a nightly basis. I would get on the train in New York and get on the Long Island Expressway, go on Long Island Railroad to go out to Long Island to perform. What actor goes from Manhattan to Long Island to perform right away? It tells you that you're doing something wrong. And I would get out there and they would feed me to the wolves. They would literally make me the scapegoat of everything. And I would go home and cry. I was so unprepared. So I finally found my footing and held my own one night with the other woman in the group who was kind of funny looking, like a Ruth Buzzy. She was funny as hell. But when I finally stood up to her on stage, she cried and made them fire me. So that was the end of that. But what I decided I needed to take stand-up lessons and become a comic and learn to defend myself. And I ended up studying stand-up with the man who would become my second husband, the father of my children. And I did stand-up for a little while. I ended up doing my first professional stand-up gig in a rock and roll club on Bleecker Street in the Village, next door to the bitter end. Used to be the other end. It's called the Rock and Roll Cafe. And my boyfriend at the time had a rock band. I said, "Oh, you should book my boy." Anyway, I ended up booking the club, running the club, becoming, I think, the only female rock promoter in New York in the 80s.
Right. Okay. I was always wondering how that happened. But although that story is in the book, correct?
Yes.
and in full disclosure, I read the book, but I devoured the book, but it was a couple of years ago. So I'd forgotten some of the stories.
Yes.
But it's a really fun read.
You don't have me memorized, Terry? Come on.
No, I don't.
Good.
That's because it's an ever-changing story with you. It would be a full-time job to memorize you.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm exhausting.
So, well, it's so interesting because I had the opportunity.
Somebody just wrote on Facebook, I'm sorry, my friend Aris wrote, "I want to hear Vicki sing." No, you don't. Anyway. Well,
that's on Vicki. You're always welcome to sing on this show.
We won't be doing that.
Okay, we will. Yeah, we're going to pass on that. But thanks for the invite. And by the way, hi to all our Facebook Live followers and listeners right now. I'm so happy that you're here with us. I had the opportunity. I was encouraged also to study comedy improv. And I studied with Gary Austin here, who founded the Groundlings early on because I was producing him. He was a singer-songwriter. He wrote country songs also. That was like
I do know that.
And it was like his love. And when we met, he asked if I could produce him. And so I was producing his early demos, and then he suggested that I come study with him, and just offered it. He said, "I think it'd be good as a performer." And it really was.
So then a lot of my friends started in the Groundlings. So Tracy Newman, Lorraine Newman, Lynn, oh my God, she's like one of my closest friends. I just totally
not anymore.
Lynn Stewart. Lynn Stewart,
yes.
I love her. Miss Yvonne, she's like the best. I adore her.
Also, Mindy Sterling, who's going to be on
Mindy Sterling.
Yeah, Mindy's going to be on our show in December,
Fabulous.
I think. So
fabulous.
So it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
But it's really that kind of training. I can see where it's really helped both of us as far as being present, not taking things as seriously, and just really, and a different way of learning how to listen and respond.
Absolutely.
So you have, well, here's a couple of other things. So we were talking about Medicare, and you gave me a little aside, the other day when we were talking just about the hip bones connected to my backbone. What's going on?
Oh, Terry, just in between the time we did our little tech check and now, I was on the phone getting MRIs sent to surgeons. I have to have some kind of hip surgery. And I'm very active. I work out every night. I
Yeah.
speed walk. I do all of this stuff. Doesn't matter. You hit a
No.
certain age if you've got the heredity. My father had 2 hips replaced. It's just part of the deal. So I'm going to a surgeon on Friday. I do have to have surgery. I don't know if it's going to be a hip replacement or if it's going to be something else, but yeah, I've got to have hip surgery and maybe back surgery. I have bulging discs and severe stenosis and all this crap.
Well, you're going to be okay. And I'm telling you that because I had a hip replacement just about 3 years ago. I don't know if I told you.
No.
And it was a big shock to me because I've been physically active my whole life. And the doctor basically said, look, you're in your 60s, you've been active, exercising, carrying gear around your whole life, as a musician, and you wore some parts out. He goes, right on schedule. So you're going to be fine. Just as friend to friend, reach out to me and I will,
Yes.
I'll help coach you through this, and
Fantastic.
you'll be fine. I'm better than ever, and it's going to be okay.
Thank you.
It's going to be okay. I'm sorry that's going on, but it's like, also the doctor said to me, and by the way, you don't need to run anymore. You've run enough. I still do other things. I'm paddleboarding and bike riding and walking on the sand.
I don't run. Yeah. I speed walk. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about both of your shows and what possessed you to be a host of your own shows, not just your writing group, but and obviously shooting the shit with Vicki was, COVID encouraged, just from isolation and we have a lot of single friends, both of us, who have been really isolated, and we all were reaching out to each other and still are, because we're not all the way back yet. We're still being,
Right.
I'm being mindful. I know you are.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is, but yeah. So, but what inspired you to start your shows that you do? Because they're really great, and your guests, like I said, are phenomenal.
Terry, when I moved out to LA in 2005, my husband, now was writing for Jay Leno, and he was on The Tonight Show, and I was a full-time mom, and I had been writing this book, and I got out here, and I knew very few people, didn't know what I was going to do, and I optioned a music reality show as soon as I got here, and it looked like I was going from 0 to 180 in about 2 seconds, that I was hit Hollywood and fame and fortune, and it really came this close. And it was very exciting. And then, like so many things in Hollywood do, it fell apart at the last moment.
Sure.
So anyway, I was going to workshop my book into a play, was my initial thing. And my editor suggested that I start a little group for mommies to read a little bit each month, to kind of, because if I wanted to go and showcase myself in Hollywood clubs, I didn't know people, maybe I'd get 5 minutes of stage time once a year. It wasn't going to happen. So I started my own thing called Women Who Write, which after just 3 or 4 months turned into this celebrity craziness, where Marlee Matlin, Academy Award winning actress, read in my living room with Carol Leifer. The next month I had Tom Bergeron, I had Evan Handler, and it was just every single month from there on. I mean, Jackie Collins, 500 million books sold, was in my living room, everybody. So it became,
and when you say living room, Vicki, you're not joking. It's the living room of your home. I've been there.
Literally.
It's great.
It's there. That's where it all happened. That's where the magic happened. And 50, 60 people in my living room every month with celebrities. I started going live on Facebook as soon as that became a thing we could do. But before that, it was filmed and edited, and they're on YouTube, a lot of them. I didn't always, anyway. So that got me live hosting.
And was that
But
natural? Did it feel natural for you, or did you need to grow into it?
it's funny, Terry, but they say, the shoemaker's son needs new shoes, but can be, like it was the family business. My
Yeah.
father was a master of ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
This was in my blood, my DNA, my genes. This is it. I am Larry Katz.
Yeah.
I
Right.
am my father personified in the next generation as a female. So no, it came completely naturally to me. And it was utilizing all the skills of everything I had done: actress, comedian, promoter, booker, host. I got to use all of my skills.
And even broader than that, woman, fully grown woman, fully, you know what I mean? Like, no, I don't mean that. I just mean
No, I know.
like you're a grown ass woman as far as having a point of view. I'm talking about that. Also being a mother, also having been married more than once.
More
Like
than
you
once.
have, um, and
Oops.
and also like having challenges in your life with addiction early on, and which you
Not
talk
so
about,
early. Mm-hmm.
not so early on, but that you, um, I'm
I mean,
so
early on
proud of
and
you.
too later on. Thank you.
Yeah, but I have so much respect for you and of many other friends and family members who are sober, who have struggled
Thank
with
you.
it, who so you bring a lot to the table with that.
Thank you. Yes, as a matter of fact, that's a great segue for me to just say that I am launching right now, currently, a new enterprise. I used to call it internet working. I used to coach
Mhm.
people in how to use social media, how to launch their books, their projects, whatever. And I'm starting something called In Solution, Vicki Abelson In Solution, which basically is problem solving anything and everything for anyone. Just next steps, how to move forward with anything going on in your life, because it is an application of everything that you and I do, that we've been doing. It's
Right. Well, that speaks to a couple of quotes that I wanted to include somewhere in the conversation. This was said by a few people uh, about your Game Changers broadcast that you
by
did.
the way, I keep moving around because I'm trying to get the lights so you can't see them, my boobs so they don't look enormous, and my neck because I'm 66. Anyway, go ahead.
Other than that,
That's why I'm shifting around.
here's a couple of here's three quotes that I wanted to share. One is about you and about your shows. It seems it's a natural choice. You can be like Vicki or you can be miserable. Beautiful quote. Another one, if you could bottle what Vicki has and get it out there, I think this would be a better world. One more from your friend Norman, our friend Norman Lear. I've had the pleasure of as working with him as well and getting to know him. What a beautiful human being
Amazing.
who has dedicated his life not just to making good TV, but activism.
Absolutely.
Even when people didn't know that's what they, excuse me, were being exposed to. This is what Norman says about you. No one, Vicki, had a better time than I. It was a warm, smart room of open hearts and minds and a total joy for me. Thank you once again. That was Norman being a part of one of your workshops. I think, it speaks
Those are
to,
actually literary salons, as I call them, no hair, no nails. The workshops we actually work on our writing, they're smaller, but the show is a literary salon.
mm-hmm. There's also, I mean, jumping around because it's all connected. And then we're going to bring a couple folks on for questions. And would love to know what you have to say. And Vicki, if anybody in our Facebook Live audience has any questions that you want to read out loud along the way,
They've gotten really quiet out there.
You're a part of this conversation as well. Don't go to sleep on us. You're part of this show. Your book, Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother. It's interesting because you created a story, but it's you made up a fictional character to a woman to share the story, and basically it's a story. Well, let me just read what this is. Don't Jump chronicles a woman's quest to find her place and purpose amidst sex, drugs, rock and roll, and celebrity. It's a story of unfulfilled potential, addiction, and bad behavior. Ultimately, it's a story of redemption told with levity and a wicked sense of fun, while seeking solutions for a disintegrating marriage, tumultuous showbiz ups and downs, recovery, and midlife transition. That's a lot, all of that. Don't Jump explores Andy's journey to make her life count. How did you come? Was it just a writing technique to write from the point of view of Andy instead of it being a sort of a self perspective, not necessarily an autobiography, but
A
point of view,
memoir.
a memoir?
I call it a fictionalized memoir. It's actually, I think after all these years, I can say it. It's just the truth. It's a true story. It's my
Yeah.
story. And I think I changed about 3 words in my story in the course of that whole book. But at the decision was made, Terry, because I was protecting the not so innocent.
Okay.
It was a
Yeah.
protection to other people. There are a lot of celebrities in my book that are named, and I felt that I owed them something. Meanwhile, one of the celebrities that I was trying to protect threw somebody else under the bus in his book. And
Nice.
so I don't know
Right.
why I was working so hard to protect him, but I did. And it was everybody, and it was also out of respect to my children and my
Right.
family. And the title says "And My Fucking Mother," but actually, when you read the book, it's really about my failure in that relationship, and I
Mhm.
take responsibility for it. And my mother was obviously mortified when she saw the title of my book, but we are doing
I can
fine.
imagine.
I was taken out of the will for at least a year or two, but all is well
You're back in,
now.
right? So you
I don't
worked
know.
through it. I don't know. I
We're
had
doing
actually,
okay.
it's funny. I had actually asked my mom to take me out of the will
Why?
because there was drama between the family.
Mm,
Between the
oh
3
yeah.
brothers, my 2 brothers and I and her, and I go, just leave me out of this. I'm in the family, but I don't want to be a part of, you would say, this mishigash, or I mean, I would too. I don't
Yeah.
use that word very often. Um, but yeah, so I literally remember saying, you can take me out of the will. I don't want to be in this.
Hysterical.
I just want to be your
Hysterical.
son and the brother of my 2 other brothers, and and as life works, my mom ended up having me be the executor of her estate, and
There you go.
and all of that. She asked if I would do that, and I, of course, said yes. And um, reluctantly, but it, and we all ended up in a really good place. On the other,
Oh,
we
good.
got through it together. Oh yeah, yeah,
Good, good, good.
yeah. I'm grateful for that. There's 2 funny quotes about your book. One is from Ed Bagley Jr., which is, "Who the fuck is Vicki Abelson?" That's when you asked for a quote from him about the book. And also Tom Bergeron, "The warmth and wit of Vicky's writing knocked me out in a good way, not like Cosby. Too soon?"
The Cosby quote was right at the time when all of that was going on.
I
So
figured.
it was very timely at the time. And Ed, I actually asked Ed to make the video. Say Ed would never be mean to me.
Right.
He is extremely funny, as you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
but he did that as a favor to me. I was trying to get actually Carl Reiner published the book, and he and Mel Brooks would be eating off TV trays
Yeah.
when I was doing my audiobook in Carl's pool house.
Hmm.
And I wanted Mel to say, "Who the fuck is Vicki Abelson?" And my conduit, Larry O'Flavor-Heaven, was too scared to ask Mel to do it. But Ed did it for me, which was great.
And you mentioned those names just sort of in passing, and the beauty of it is these are, I've had the pleasure of meeting all 3 of them through a movie that I worked on, an HBO documentary, and it was such a thrill and treat to get
Were you in the Bronx one?
both. I did the
Okay.
Bronx movie, and then also, If You're Not in the Obit, Eat Breakfast. I produced the music
Fantastic.
for that with
Yes.
Dick Van Dyke,
I
and
know that. That's right. I
yeah,
knew that. Yes,
and
fabulous.
Tony Bennett and Alan Bergman with Dave Grusin. Which was incredible right there. But the thing is,
Unbelievable.
to get to know those gentlemen, to be able to sit down and have conversations with them was a thrill. And I know you know what I mean, because they're your friends too. Besides,
Well,
well,
not Mel. I've met Mel a couple
okay,
times, and Mel, the first time I met Mel, I quelled all of. I saw the producers at the final performance before the final. What is it called before opening night?
previews,
Preview. Thank you. The
yeah,
final preview. I saw the producers. Nobody knew what to expect then. It was the best night of theater I have ever seen in my life. And
wonderful,
when I met Mel, in addition to Young Frankenstein and everything else that is so to love about him, I just went nuts on him about the producers and how much that had been a life-changing
Mhm.
experience. And he pinched my cheeks. I was at the green room for this thing for Joseph Bologna or Sid Caesar, and he pinched my cheeks and Bubala and Mamala, and he kissed me. I have
Yeah.
a great picture with Mel too. But then a couple years later, when Carl was publishing my book, Mel got really cynical about who I was. He didn't remember that green room experience, and I would cook Carl chicken soup and latkes and stuff, and he would bring them down, and Mel would go, "Why is this girl making you latkes and all of this?" And he was, "Oh shit, Terry, I'm so unprepared.
It's okay.
Wait a
It's
minute.
okay. We're live.
Oh my gosh.
It's all
When
right.
I do my show, I prepare for all this stuff. I was not prepared. I'm sorry. God damn it.
Well, I'm flattered that you took it this seriously.
Jesus. Sorry.
It's
But
okay.
anyway, so Carl became a friend. Carl did the living room, and then I was at his house a lot and lots of time together. But Mel is cynical of me. Yeah.
Got
Why
it.
I was being so nice to Carl.
Yeah. So I want to read a quote of something that I read that you had said in a 2015 interview,
Mhm.
and followed by a question.
Okay.
So here's what you had written. I believe you had written it. If not, you had said it. It's about creating. And since this show, a lot of what this is about is the creative process and the
Right.
journey. Here's your quote. I
Okay.
create because I have something to say, a lot to say, and I want you to hear it, read it, digest it, think about it, feel about it, care about me, love me, because ultimately that's what I seek. Your love, everyone's love. I have a whorish need for it and for acceptance, validation for my being. And when I get lucky, you think I'm smart or funny or clever or intuitive or insightful, compassionate, and sensitive. And when I'm really lucky, all of the above.
I do not remember saying that. I have no idea where you found it. But it's true for me.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, it's kind of beautifully written. It kind of sort of
Thank
speaks
you.
to your writing style and speaking style as well. But also, that was 2015, and my question to you is, which you kind of actually answered right now, is that still feel the same for you? Is that part of why you create?
It's absolutely why I create. I mean, why do we do anything in life
Hmm.
other than to be loved? I mean, what do we seek? I mean, I guess there are people who seek fame and fortune, and they seek to be the best at something. Some people are competitive, and being, the best at what they do is really important to them. But to me, there is nothing more satisfying than connecting and knowing that I'm eliciting an emotion in somebody, and hopefully it's a positive one of
Hmm.
connection, of relating, of joy. Hopefully,
Joy. That's an important word.
you
And it's a
know,
word
yeah.
that comes up often on this show, which is interesting. I'm glad to hear you say
Mm.
that.
Joy is so important, and it's been so difficult for so many of us in the pandemic to have that joy. You
Yeah.
asked me before, how my shows started. Game Changers, the celebrity interview show, chat show, whatever, came to be because all my life I wanted to be Johnny Carson. All these other people wanted to be Marilyn Monroe. I wanted to be Johnny Carson.
Hmm.
And I got a little taste of it doing Women Who Write in my living room. But when I got the opportunity, I was originally asked to do a radio show on Conversations Radio Network, and I did that for a few months, and then he didn't pay me, and that went away. And then Luis Palanca produced my show as a podcast for a while. Then I did it on internet television with a 3-camera shoot, and that he went out of business, and I just pulled it back in my living room and have been self-producing for years now.
So is it like a job? Are you disciplined in this? Like, I know that you work very diligently and very focused in doing it. You also have the part when you're actually doing it, you have fun doing it. I know the other stuff is not necessarily as fun. I think, are you muted? It sounds like I couldn't hear what you just said, Vicki.
Good.
Oh, well, I have you
my
now.
mother was calling, actually,
Okay.
which is hysterical. Not my fucking mother, just my mother.
Hi, Mom. Right.
I'm sorry, that distracted me.
So are you disciplined? Like, do you like clock in at 9 in the morning and do 2 hours of pre-production and business, or how does your day go?
Terry, pre-pandemic, when I was doing a live salon in my home once a month, doing my live game changers every week, I was busy. I was working 7 days a week, and
Yeah.
often I don't get off the computer until 1 in the morning. It's a lot of work for me.
Yeah.
I have a schedule that I'm on. Okay, I post my banner on this at this time. I write my liner notes at this time. I don't go to sleep after my live show on Wednesdays. I don't go to sleep until I've gotten it posted on every social media platform. I've got it on YouTube. I've got it on SoundCloud. I've got it going on all over the place. I used to send out a weekly mailer to my list. I stopped doing that in the pandemic. And the ones that I receive from other people, I throw in, I don't read. I just think, I think we're all overwhelmed. We're getting too much stuff. There's too
Right.
much stuff because we're all
Mhm.
home and everybody's making stuff. So anyway, yes, I'm very disciplined with how I take what I do very seriously. It's very important to me to honor my guests
Mhm.
and to do my homework. It's not homework for me, it's joy. I truly am a fan of everybody that I present. So it's my pleasure to read up on them, to watch interviews with them, to get to know them in ways that I might not, and to be prepared so that I don't have to, I never have a question. I never look at a piece of paper when I'm live. I am in conversation in the moment where we go, as you do, from thing to thing to thing with what makes sense. And yes, there's a lot of
It's
work
interesting.
involved.
There is, and it's in the preparation. Absolutely. Like anything, like preparing for an acting job or for making a
Sure.
record or a tour. Um, it's interesting because to hear you say that, I find fascinating, because I listened to an interview of Terry Gross, NPR uh, host, for
Mm-hmm.
many, many years. And I love her style,
Mm-hmm.
of talking, because it's like yours and like what I
Mm-hmm.
strive to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
make it conversational as well as an interview, and make it really your conversation as well as mine.
Right.
But she said that she used to, write things down and, over prepare and have her questions written out. And then she realized that it was distracting her from the actual conversation. So she has Cliff
Exactly.
Notes, which is what I have, things that I look to, read a quote or various things. But I think, what makes your show interesting to me, and hopefully what makes mine interesting to you and our other
Mm-hmm.
listeners, is that we're listening as well. We have a front row seat to the conversation.
Absolutely. My husband used to be the head monologue writer for David Letterman, and who better than Dave to be in the moment, really paying attention to a conversation. And I love Jay Leno, but when you compare Letterman to Leno, when he had his show, was always going question to question. He was not listening to people's answers. He was just thinking about what he was going to ask them next. You could tell that he wasn't present in those interviews. It didn't come naturally to him, even though he was wildly successful at it and had millions of gazillions of fans. For me, he was a much better comedian always than he was a talk show host. And for me, I'll make Cliff Notes, but I never look at them, because I do just get into the conversation and just start, and my humanity is on parade, because I'll forget something, and the artist will remind me of something that I'm trying to think of, and I don't care, because it's more important in that moment to really be paying attention to them and really be listening to them. So that's just a decision that I make. But for me, Game Changers is like people sitting in my living room overhearing you and I chatting. That's what they're getting to do. And I'm going to ask you, my guest, every question I want to know the answer to. So, it's not really about how did you do
How'd you
this
get that
thing,
break? Right.
sometimes, but usually it's like, so were you drinking that night, and did you
Right.
get loaded? And I ask the questions I want to know the answers to.
Right.
And I just want to run back 1 second to the other question that you asked me about how my shows came to be. Shooting the Shit with Vicki, which I do live on Mondays at 5 p.m., but it's 5-ish, because I'm late for that show every day, because I figure that one I'm just doing for shits and giggles. It's just me talking to everybody on Facebook Live.
It's a stream of consciousness
Totally.
experience.
Yeah, there is nothing planned for that. That is just talking in the moment what I want to talk about. And the way that came about was I was alone. My son had just moved out. I was living alone. The pandemic started, and I was lonely. We were in lockdown. What was I going to do with myself? I couldn't do my literary salon. I couldn't do my talk show. At the time, I didn't realize I could do my show alone on Zoom. I didn't know that then. And I went live 7 days a week.
Yeah.
7 days a week for a long time, because it was, for me, it was service to me to not be alone, and it was service to the people who were watching. And there were hundreds of COVID crazies that tuned in every single day, and we got through it together. I went from 7 days to 5 days, finally to 3 days. Now I do that show 1 day, because the need isn't there anymore. Everybody's getting back to their lives. But anyway, that's how that show started.
Yeah, I could tell that it was for you, but it also created a sense of community and connection.
Yes, it did.
And even for me, when I would see you on, I would log on and watch for a little bit and listen and say hi, and
Yes, it was great.
and I think it was really a beautiful part of our community and humanity worldwide to reach out to each other and stay connected in that way. How are you? And by the way, if anybody, we're getting towards the end of our conversation. Before I get to my closing questions, if anybody in our live virtual audience or our Facebook audience,
I have a question here from Maria. Hello, Maria. She's so wonderful. She's on my show every day that I'm live. Did you ever have someone in your living room to interview who was totally different than you imagined? And the first thing that popped into my mind, Maria, was Micky Dolenz of the Monkees. Micky was a hard get for me. I worked on him for years. He finally agreed because Mike Nesmith had co-produced a show of mine in Big Sur. But anyway, when Micky came, 50 people in my living room. Micky had just played the Greek Theater a few nights before, but in my living room, he was a nervous wreck, and he was pacing like crazy. And he was nervous, and then he got up there and he sang "I'm a Believer," and then all bets were off. Then, of course, he was in the moment. He was fine. But so many people would come to my living room and say this was like when they were little kids, and their mother would say, "Perform for Aunt Bessie," and and how nerve-wracking that was, right? So it would always amaze me. Jackie Collins pulled up in a limo. She sold 500 million books, been on every talk show ever, and she came in and she was a nervous wreck. And then there were other people performing that day. And by the time she got up there, she was loose as a goose. I accidentally touched her boob. She made a joke. It was fabulous.
Well, actually being on your show in your living room it's an intimate experience. You're knee to knee with the front row, and you've just finished having some bagels in the kitchen with everybody, or I mean, literally.
Some of Penny's kugel.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have another question. It's about something that you had mentioned to me, and I thought it'd be interesting to bring up. And again, if anybody in our live fireside virtual audience wants to jump up, just request to come on stage. You were saying to me that after just saying no, but after years of wanting to say yes, what do you? I mean, I know what you mean by that, but could you elaborate on that about the value of saying yes, the value of saying no?
That's a different question than I was saying, but I love that question better.
Okay.
For me, Terry, you asked me for 4 things that we could talk about specifically. And so one of them was I said no eventually to something, and that was a celebrity story that's not important. This is a better question that you've asked.
Okay.
I have found in my mature years of life, I used to say no to everything. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do anything I didn't want to do. And I was not open-minded. I was not open-hearted. And unless it was in my list of things I wanted to do, I said no. if you asked me to do you a favor, if it was something I didn't want to, no, there was a lot of no's in my life. I started saying yes about a decade ago to pretty much everything, and my life completely changed. And that's how Women Who Ride came to be, Game Changers came to be. Everything that I've done, I've been invited to do. And had I not said yes, my life would be very small today. And saying yes has made it very big. And that doesn't mean that I'm a doormat, and it doesn't mean that I will do anything. Thank you. It doesn't mean I'll do anything that anybody asks. But I'm willing. I'm open. And unless it's something that's really not good for me or others, I'm gonna give it a go.
And your life is the better for that, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. My life is so much bigger. There are so many more people in it that matter. And I've tried things that I never would have dreamt of. I am not qualified to have written a book, let alone, no. I was an actress. Who am I to write a book? But who knew? I said yes. I just having my own talk show, interviewing celebrities, getting to know and become friends with all the people that I idolize and worship. Oh my God, what a gift it is. Being brave enough to reach out to people that scare me, and doing it anyway, and then finding them to be just regular people like everyone else.
Right. There's basically two answers, yes or no. When you're reaching out to people that you
That's
have
right.
to drum up the courage to approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that fuels me also, because I'm pretty fearless about asking people to play on my records or to be a guest on my show or whatever.
Right.
As far as collaborations, because it'll work for them or it won't. There's one
And
way
what
to
do we
find
got
out.
and you know what, Terry? I have found there is no one that is ungettable. I have chased some people for 4 years, for 5 years, for more years. Eventually, I will wear them down and they will say yes. And I don't hound them. I don't doggedly pursue them day after day. I
Sure.
time it. But eventually, pretty much everybody has said yes.
There's I want to encourage everybody to go to Vicki's Facebook page and also your website, because it's a portal for people to find all of your shows and books and everything too. Can you tell people where to
Okay,
find you?
so we really want you guys to get my book, Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother. And I promise you, it comes with a funny back guarantee. I'll come and wash your windows if you don't laugh when you read the book. And my website is, you just have to spell my name correctly, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's Abelson, Vicki, Vicki. It's VickiAbelson.com, and that's how you can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, Vicki Abelson. Thank you.
And there's also some really cool photographs on your website. I'm just going to list a couple of them. Norman Lear, Mel Brooks. This is you with these people. Carl Reiner, Chris Rock, Johnny Depp, Michael Hall, Leonardo DiCaprio, President and Hillary Clinton, Billy Crystal, Jimmy Connors, tennis champion, David Letterman, Jackie Collins, Steven Weber, Phil Rosenthal, Tom Bergeron, Bruce Valanche, our friend, Harry Hamlin, Gary Delabate, Dee Wallace, Michael Imperioli, Jeff Garland, Fred Willard, bless his heart, and Fred and Mary.
Him.
Yeah. And
Love
Michael Nesmith. Yeah, they were wonderful. Michael Nesmith, Garry Marshall. Those are just a few of the photos, and every one of those photos has a story to it. There's no question about that. That's
hysterical. I love whoever's clapping. I love you.
It's our audience here, our virtual audience. We hear you and we see you.
There. Hi, Melanie.
Yep, absolutely. So I have 3 closing questions I ask all of my guests, and then I'll give final words to you. The first is, since this show is called Making It, what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
That just made me cry when you even said those words. It gets me very emotional, Terry, because
Which
if I
words?
look, what does making it mean to me?
Okay.
Because, if I measure success, there's lots of ways to measure success. My mother measures success by the dollars you make. if I go by my mother's definition of success, my success has been minimal. I had my day as a rock and roll promoter. I did very, very well. But we know what this warrants us financially. Hello. All people think we're making the big bucks doing this stuff. But when I think about the fact that I do what I love, what I cherish with the people that I love and respect and admire, I get to sit down with my heroes week after week after week and get to know them and call them my friends and have lunch with them and talk on the phone with them. And they send me emails and we Facebook together. And oh my God, this is, I like Peter O'Toole said in My Favorite Year, I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star. Well, I'm not a movie star, but I play Johnny Carson. I play Johnny Carson on internet TV, and that is my greatest thrill. And I got to be in a movie with Michael Imperioli, one of my heroes, and I got to improvise a scene with him, and it's in the movie, and Henry Jaglom's the M word. So I did get to be a 30-second movie star. Thank you. But this is a riot. But I have to say that doing what I love, I do what I love. Right? I love to write. I love to chat. I love to be live and be myself. All of these things. So if I have to say, have I made it? I do what I love. So in that sense, yes.
I would say you have. What is, can you share 3 tips for success?
Except I'd love to have millions of fans instead of tens of fans. That would be really good.
Well, everybody go follow Vicki, and this is my weekly plug now that I've just added, but go to our YouTube channels and our pages and my Spotify page and subscribe. It's free.
Yes!
It doesn't cost anything, and it helps artists like Vicki and myself monetize the creative work that we do, that we
absolutely
that we share and put a lot of heart and time into as well. So it's an easy thing to do.
I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel with all of these celebrities that are just killer. Yeah.
So just go subscribe.
Yes.
And please. And we thank you. We appreciate and we are grateful for you to do that. Can you share 3 tips for success, Vicki, that have driven your career?
Wow. Off the cuff. That's great. I love that question. Okay. 3 tips for success. Garry Marshall said something in my living room that I will never forget and I hold close to my heart. Finish. Whatever you start, finish. Finish. I finished a book. Finish what you start. I've started a lot of things that I haven't finished. I have a screenplay. I have a screenplay that's waiting for me to finish, and so I've got to follow my own advice on that. That's one thing. Another thing is be prepared. I fly by the seat of my pants on my show. I don't preset what I'm going to say, but I'm prepared. I'm in the mode. I've done my homework. Before I do shooting the shit, I listen to the news. I know what's going on in the world. I have an idea of where I want to go, and then I just trust myself to do it. A third thing would be in the moment, be real, be present. Can't change the past, can't predict the future. All I've got is right now. So right now in this moment, I want to be with you. I want to be present for you. I want to be real with you. And if I do that, hopefully we connect.
And that's part of your comedy improv training, as well as, and maybe a part of your sobriety as well. And
absolutely.
Just being present.
100%. Yeah. I don't perfect that. I work at it.
Well, right. It's a practice.
It's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a daily practice, yes.
So is yoga. It's a practice.
Yes, it is.
And breath work and everything. My final question to you before I turn it over to you for any closing thoughts, which is, at this point of your life, and I'm talking about young Vicki in New York or young Vicki growing up in the Bronx, little girl Vicki, at this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
That's a powerful question. That expression, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. If I could eliminate the gazillions of hours of worry
Hmm.
that I have engaged in my life, the things that I have struggled anticipating and have come to find that nothing is ever as bad as I deem it, that everything always works out. There's a great expression from the Marigold Hotel that my sponsor reminds me of. Everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. And everything always ends up being all right. But still to this day, today, this very day, I'm worrying about the hip surgeon and the surgery and the second opinion and picking up and you know what? None of it matters. It's one foot in front of the other, the next right action, taking one step at a time, trusting the universe, trusting my higher power, however you want to say it, and knowing that no matter what, I will be in solution and everything will be okay.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question? I don't remember what the question was anymore.
It answered a lot of questions. Thanks. Thank you for that. Since our show is completely unedited, is there anything else on your heart or your mind that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I'm so grateful to you, Terry. I adore you as a person. I adore your wonderful wife, Melanie. I think you're a great couple. You're amazing artists as individuals, a force as a couple. And I so respect what you do and who you are and your talent. And it's a gift to me to have these tables turned and to be in this seat for a change. And I thank you so much for that opportunity and for walking me through Fireside, which if you're listening, Fireside, you're a pain in the ass right now. But I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks for persevering and saying yes to doing this show. I really appreciate you. And it's fun to flip the script like we decided to do today by me having you on my show for a change. And so I want to just say thank you to all of our Facebook Live guests. We really appreciate you taking the ride with us and participating. Also, of course, our live virtual Fireside guest. We see you and we hear you applauding and waving. And
that's so fun.
Yeah, and it means the world to us. It's really great because that's the interactive aspect of this format that's so great. And for those who are listening to the archives, thank you again for joining us every week, because we know there's a lot you could do with your time, and we appreciate you spending your time with us. Everybody go check out all of Vicki's social media sites, and I encourage you to just stay inspired and stay safe, everybody. And Vicki Abelson, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry. I adored it. Thanks so much.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Wollman.